I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening and watching Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 422. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. For those of you who can see me, hello, I see you. Well, I don't see you, but you can see me. And if you're listening, hello, hello, hello from all over the world. It's amazing that no matter what format I'm in, I can communicate with people anywhere. Truly amazing. And, I have been on a vacation that I just want to talk to you about a little bit. I haven't been internationally on a vacation since COVID. So this was my first international flight to Cabo San Lucas. Did it a couple weeks ago. And I have three other sisters and their entire families and children all went, and children, they're all grown adults at this point. We all went. My youngest sister, Janie, her youngest daughter, Sammy, got married there. And we all went to share in the love. And it truly was amazing and such a beautiful thing to do with family. And especially as we're all getting older. It's like it used to be just the 4 girls, me and my 3 sisters, and it was us. It seemed like a small family, and this small family of us 4 girls has now turned into, like, 30 or 40 people, our children and their children. Truly, when I tell you the best is yet to come, I mean it. I certainly did not know when I was in my 50s that this is going to be happening, that it was gonna get so big, that we were gonna be so close, that we were gonna have so many kids and grandchildren. Our children have cousins. They all know each other. They play with each other. Whew. Anyway, it was a sight to behold, a vacation to remember, and reminds me all the time that just because I'm getting older only means it's getting better. And so far, up until this point, it has been so true. And so many surprises, too. I've said on this podcast before, and I'm going to say it again, no matter where you are in life, be prepared to be surprised. And be prepared to be surprised with things that will amaze you that you never even thought of. Because that's the way I see it. And whatever Dr. Deb says goes, at least on this podcast. Anyway, I want to talk to you about something. I just had a group today, and as most of you know, I do individual coaching, but I also do coaching with groups of women on Zoom. And I've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm gathering so much information and learning so much more about you, especially when I do groups. Individual coaching is very, very customized to the person that I'm working with. And when I'm working with a group, usually about 12 women at a time, it is a different experience and there are many different things going on at the same time. So when I customize more towards the group and individually coach each person in that group at one point or another. And what I find in my group coaching is that the people who are not getting coached sometimes learn more than they do when they do get coached because they're objectively and mindfully listening, hopefully without judgment, but they can see things that are going on in their mind that they couldn't see if they were being coached. And so I want to inspire everybody that when my next group opens up, which will probably be late summer, to really think about the idea of doing it with me if you want to open up your mind to your own mind. Because really, coaching is all about helping you see more clearly your own thinking. And then for you to question the thinking or the thoughts that may not serve you and to help you think thoughts that will serve you. I don't care if you're in menopause. I don't care if you're trying to lose weight. Whatever it is in your life that you're wanting to improve, coaching can help it because your thoughts do create your reality. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I have watched my clients' realities change by changing their thinking, their bodies, their lives, their relationships, by changing the way that they think. So here's what I want to talk to you about today as I was doing my group program today with lovely, lovely women. And I like to talk a lot about, and I know I've said it on this podcast and I can't say it enough, is how do you see yourself when you look in the mirror? Do you just look for what's wrong, or are you capable of seeing what's going right in your face, in your body? Are you capable of being able to see through your own eyes and think about yourself in a way that helps you see yourself in a positive way? Because it's open, it's an option for you. And if you're waiting for somebody else to do it, you might be waiting a long time because they may not do it in the way that you want. Or I have a lot of women that say their spouses, oh, they say if it's about their weight or if it's about how they look, that they're beautiful, that they don't have to lose weight. And even though these people say it to them, if they don't believe it, it doesn't even matter. So you've got to work on believing it for yourself. And the best way I know how to do that is by doing what I call mirror work, where you look in the mirror and you say nice things to yourself. And I was coaching one of my clients today in the group, and I was asking her if she could do that. And she said, well, she tries every now and then. And I say, well, what do you say to yourself? She says, well, the best thing I can say to myself is, you look okay. And I really think that's a step in the right direction. Like if you can just say something on the positive end, because I know a lot of times when I look in the mirror, I like to look for everything that's wrong with me all the time. I want to pull my face a little bit to see what it would look like if I could just get a facelift or if I could just pull it up. That's my new thing that I'm doing now as I'm getting older. Before, I think I used to look more at my body and figure out what's wrong with it. Always what's wrong with it, never what's right with it. And since I've been doing and teaching this work, I've been doing this work on myself, looking in the mirror, being able to see the good. And it's a practice. All my sweet women, beautiful women all over the world, it is a practice. You can't lose enough weight. You can't have your face pulled tight enough if you don't believe these things about yourself. So, this is what I'm going to say to you, and this is what I want to practice, and I want you to practice this week. Is number one, before I get to my next thing, I want you to be able to look in the mirror and either wink at yourself or say, you're all right, girl. A lot of times, I really am to the point now that if I'm putting on makeup or if I'm doing something to my hair, I almost can go to the point where I go, you look good. Good enough. Good. You look great. You're beautiful. Keep it up. I mean it. And the more I do it, the easier it gets. And the more I believe it, the more I start seeing it. I know I'm not changing, but as I think about myself differently, I see myself differently. I want you to do that for yourself. All the weight in the world won't do it for you. I promise you. And you may know that already. Okay, so that's the first thing, mirror work. This week, look in the mirror, wink at yourself, say something nice to yourself, watch how your brain wants to go, what's wrong, and then maybe just look at yourself or talk to yourself and go, what is right with me today? What looks good about me today? What can I appreciate about me today? I'm telling you, I want you to find something. Sometimes, I'll just get out of bed and I'll look in the mirror and I'll say, I'm so happy you woke up today. I'm so glad to see you. Looking at myself and saying, I'm so glad to see you. I am so glad to see me because where would I be if I wasn't looking in the mirror and didn't get up? Gone. Practice that. Okay. The next thing I want you to think about is the scale. And I know I talk about the scale a lot, but again, I was working with one of my clients today and we're talking about weight. And what I noticed, and this is what happened last week with another one of my clients, is that I was either asking her about the number on the scale or she was telling me about the number on the scale and she told me what she weighed, told everybody what she weighed. And then she said to me, I just want you to know, I have never told anybody how much I weighed my whole life. This is the first time. And she smiled and she was so happy. She said, I feel like free. And I think there's a lot to be said about it is that why is it such a secret? I have a friend, we've been friends for a long time, and she has never told me how much weight she weighs or because she lost a lot of weight too. She told me how much weight she lost, but she didn't tell me how much she weighed. It's almost like we don't talk about it. And I think it was a big secret with me too. It's like I never would tell somebody how much I weighed ever. And why is that? Now, when I asked my client today, why is it or how do you feel if you would tell somebody how much you weigh? What feeling comes up for you? And she immediately said, shame. I'm ashamed. And I said to her, and I would say to you too, if shame pops up, is what are you thinking about that number that makes you feel so ashamed? And she says, the number is so high. I weigh so much. I'm doing so many things wrong. I don't want people to know that about me. Like they're going to know that about her if they knew how much she weighed. She said, I can cover up my weight with my clothes. I'm always trying to cover up my weight. But if I told somebody the number, then they would know. And I asked her, what would they be thinking? And then she said something like, well, they would think that I'm lazy or they would think things about me because of that number. And I think that she's also likes to please people. I know many of you do too. People pleasers. And somehow we think that if we tell a certain number, people are going to think ill of us. But really the only person that does not think well of us is us, ourselves. I want to change that. I want you to change that this week. The same reason that I want you to be able to start looking in the mirror and saying something nice to yourself and practicing until you can mean it and feel it. I want you to start telling somebody how much you weigh, starting with yourself, saying the number out loud. Maybe you just tell your spouse. Oh my gosh, I just remembered this. I was doing a mini session with somebody last week, and I asked her how much she weighed and how much she wanted to lose. And when I asked her how much she weighed, her spouse was in the room, and I heard her say to her spouse, cover your ears. She didn't want him to know. I Isn't that odd? Or do you say, well, that's normal. That's the way we all are. I want to change that. I want you to be able to think of whatever that number is on the scale, and I want you to be able to say it, and I don't want you to feel ashamed. And really, we can think of it as a model. And when I talk about models, I talk about that we have a circumstance in life, like a number on the scale. And that circumstance creates or triggers a thought in our head. And the thought in her head was, it's too high. There's something wrong with me. She said that too. There's something wrong with me. It's too high. And then it created the feeling of shame. And then when she feels ashamed, what she usually does in her action step is she hides her body, hides herself because she thinks there's something wrong with her. And then the result is she creates the result of there's something being wrong with her. I want to change that this week for all of you if you're one of those people who cannot say what you weigh. I don't care what your number is. I don't care if you have to lose weight or not, or you think you have to lose weight or not. I don't think it matters. I think you need to be able to say it, and I think you need to be able to have a thought that creates a feeling of self-acceptance. Acceptance would be a wonderful feeling. Compassion would be a wonderful feeling for the number on the scale. It's easier to change it if you can accept it. I've said many, many times you cannot hate yourself thin. I think you have to love yourself. If you want to stay at the number, if you want to go lower than the number, whatever it is, I still think you have to love and accept yourself. And in order to love yourself, it starts with acceptance. I think it starts with acceptance, being able to look in your mirror and accept what you see, and then to turn it from acceptance to like, and from like to love. And I think it's steps. And you can take one step at a time by getting in the mirror and you start practicing. A lot of times, what I'll do now is I'll actually blow myself a kiss. I do. I'll just to myself, and I mean it. I mean, this is life. I'm working my life. This is me. This is the way I look. I've made it this far to myself. And I look at myself and I'm looking at me right now as I'm talking to you, and I'm looking at my eyes and they're big and they're bold. And I love them, actually, as I'm looking at them. I do. I love my eyes. And I don't want to say it because I think it's a bragging or that you think it. I just think that saying nice things to yourself feels good. We don't even realize when we're saying so many negative things to ourselves how bad it makes us feel. Just like my client, that when she thinks about that number on the scale, if she would say something, she creates the feeling of shame by the thought that she thinks about the number and that she wants to hide. I want us to be able to step out to anybody and say, this is who I am. This is what I weigh. This is what I look like. And I'm okay with it. I can accept it. Okay. Are you up to the challenge this week? Whatever it is you weigh, can you say it to somebody? Start with anybody other than yourself. Maybe you got to start with yourself. There's some people that won't even get on a scale, which means they can't even say the number to themselves, much less to anybody else. If you're one of those people, I've done a lot of podcasts about the number on the scale and how important it is to just be able to see it and not make yourself feel bad. I read on the internet a lot about people and the scale, and there are some groups and some weight loss groups that talk about not getting on the scale. But because I'm so pro mind management, so pro knowing what you think, that knowing what you think about the number is so important, and that what you think can change. The number can change, but I would rather you change your thought about the number, and I guarantee you the number can change easier. Are you up to the challenge? I think it's a really great challenge. 2 things this week. Number 1, look in the mirror, wink. Whatever it is you want to do that's a little bit nicer than you've been doing, you'll start there, and you're going to practice every day, every other day, and just notice the thoughts that come up that aren't positive and see if you can switch them up just a little bit, or at least say to yourself compassionately, I know, sweetheart, you've been talking to yourself a lot like this, but you could be nicer. Please say something nice to me. You deserve it. I love that. As I'm speaking, I'm just making this up, but I really do like it. And then whatever you weigh on that scale, if you haven't told anybody, I want you to tell somebody. Now, my client who announced it to the whole group said she felt so free for the first time in her life just by letting it out, by saying it. Maybe you will too. I would love to know. How do you start? Find somebody that you feel really good about. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's your kid, somebody. And just say, I just wanted you to know this is what I weigh. Now, I'm going to tell you what I weigh. I weigh 140, and I've been weighing that for a long time. I'm very proud to be able to say that that number doesn't change very much anymore. But it's also something I have never, I don't think, in all 422 podcasts of mine, I have ever said how much I weighed. And I'm just saying it. I don't know. Maybe you're thinking something about me. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know. But I know that for me, I'm just saying it. That's how much I weigh. And I'm 71 years old. There you go. What are your numbers? And what do you make your numbers mean? Think about that. The challenge for this week is to be at peace with your numbers. Maybe it is your age. Maybe it is the number on the scale. Maybe it is just being able to look at yourself in the mirror. But self acceptance, self compassion, self love is the key, my dear friends, to your freedom, regardless of the number on the scale. And of course, listen, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, no matter where you go or who you're with or where you are, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye bye.